Marco Luciano, C.J. Abrams, Riley Green, Grayson Rodriguez, Marcelo Mayer, and Francisco Alvarez. Of those top 10, according to MLB.com, who do you think are the most three owned players currently on CBS?
It's got to be
All
Witt.
right, so definitely Witt, right?
Bobby Witt's number one.
Um, Julio Rodriguez.
He is number three.
All right. I think it's. I'm gonna go Adley.
You are hit it. You hit it
All
correctly.
right.
He's number two, and those are the top three guys who are currently owned. Who fantasy players have actually drafted. Some of them drafted this year, and they're just continuing to hold them. Bobby Witt is actually 53% owned in CBS right now, which is amazingly high for someone who's been in the minors for the entire season. Now, my question to you is this: he's really hitting in AAA right now. He is hitting in AA. He's hitting in AAA. Where does he fit into the Royals' future? I mean, they still have Mondesi who can play short. They have Whit Merrifield who can play second. I know Bobby Witt did play some third already in AAA, but where do you think he fits in?
I mean, come on, does he play the outfield?
Well, they haven't discussed that yet, I don't think. But
Can Mondesi stay healthy?
well, that's another
Oof,
question.
boy.
I think it does. You can kind of read between the lines, like some of the comments from Dayton Moore, where they basically are saying like we're not sure if we can count on Mondesi, to be around, like because he's missed so much time. Um, so I think if Mondesi's healthy, he's a superior defensive shortstop to Bobby Witt, and he will play shortstop. But Bobby Witt he really has kind of prototypical like size, power, arm for third base, and they do not have anyone standing in his way at third base. So I think if everything broke perfectly for Kansas City, you'd be looking at Witt and Mondesi on the left side of the infield. Maybe you move Nicky Lopez into kind of a utility infielder role and play some second base when Whit Merrifield's in the outfield. But Bobby Witt as a third baseman, like that makes a lot of sense to me. He can definitely play short, but if Mondesi's healthy, I would expect Witt to play third.
Let's talk about Julio Rodriguez, who we just mentioned here. What is his ETA in your opinion?
I think he'll probably be up in early June of next year. Um, he was it was one of the more confusing assignments I've really ever seen for a top prospect when they sent him to high A this year, because he was excellent at high A in 2019, and so to send him back to high A after all that, after the pandemic, he was at the alt site that whole time. Like, he's really impressed, and he went to the Arizona Fall League after 2019. Really impressed there. So they really went out of their way to manipulate his service time with the assignments they gave him. High A, that now he's at Double A. He's doing very well there. He's going to go back to the Arizona Fall League this year, and he's going to probably be the best player in the Arizona Fall League. And then I think he'll go to AAA, and it'll just, do they want to get the extra year, or do they want to get the extra year and only have to do 3 years of Super Two with him? Because he could be up anywhere from late April to early June, but I would guess early June. But I mean that makes him extremely tough to value in 2022 drafts because you have to be aware going in that you might have to stash him for multiple months, and so that's a tough pill to swallow.
Now, if you were in a keeper league or if you were in a long term type league, would you rather have Kalenic or would you rather have Rodriguez?
I'd rather have Rodriguez. I have had Rodriguez ahead of Kalenic, or Kelnick for 95% of the time those guys were prospect eligible. I had Rodriguez ahead. I moved Kelnick ahead, uh, like shortly before he debuted, just because it was very clear that we were going to see him, maybe a full calendar year before Rodriguez, and so that ETA I'm kicking myself for ever doing that because I always liked Rodriguez's talent more, and I gave Kelnick the bump for the ETA. But Rodriguez is he's more of like a superstar, more of a generational talent to me than Kelnick. I mean, I think Kelnick's going to be like a top 50 pick in fantasy for 5, 6, 7 years during his prime. But Rodriguez is really just a special talent.
I'm not familiar with Kellenick as a Met fan here. I don't know who he is. Adley Rutschman. Questions about him. One is ETA for him, but two, being a catcher, catchers have not had the best success at coming up as prospects, and Rutschman comes with this. Oh my God, can't miss him. Top 10 everywhere. What are your thoughts on catchers in general? Is Adley Rutschman above that catchers are high failure rate, in your opinion? And again, the ETA question.
Yeah, with him, I think that we see him in April. I definitely downgrade catchers almost across the board for fantasy for the reasons you alluded to. It's the most challenging position to learn, especially to learn at the big league level. You see a lot of these guys, they're putting up monster numbers in the minors offensively, and then they get up to the big leagues and they just have to work so hard on their defense that their offense takes a hit. I mean, obviously the grind of the position, like you're more likely to miss time due to injury, you're more likely to wear down physically. But Adley Rutschman's far and away the best catching prospect I've ever ranked. I mean, I think you'd have to go back to and I mean, one of these guys is like Matt Wieters. It comes to mind, but I mean, he didn't actually end up living up to his prospect hype, so maybe that's a cautionary tale. But Rutschman, you look at the way he controls the strike zone. It's really really impressive. So I'm not sure exactly how he would fail. Any prospect can get off to a slow start to their big league career. So I'm not saying he's just going to be amazing from day one, but I'd be very very surprised if we look back in like 2 or 3 years and we're like, how did Adley Rutschman not live up to expectations? He's a really special hitter. I mean, nobody works harder than him. He's got just this excellent combination of monster power to all fields with the strong hit tool with the high OBP. There's not really much to nitpick with him.
Now, Rutschman is 24 years old. Another catcher who's a top prospect is Keibert Ruiz. He's 23, and he was in that trade, the Trey Turner trade that sent him to Washington. Do you think he's going to start with the Nationals next year? Because he is raking right now in AAA.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they're playing service time games with him or whether they just want to kind of spend some time with him at the top of their farm system, just kind of working on stuff before bringing him to the big league level where he's not going to have as much time to kind of work on learning maybe their philosophy and that type of thing. He's absolutely their catcher of the future. I'm very excited about him long term. Um, he was always this guy that I sort of comped to like Jonathan Lucroy, where it was just going to be a lot of contact, a lot of high batting averages, but maybe not a ton of power. But he redid his swing, really kind of maximized his launch angle with the Dodgers over the past couple of years, and now he's getting the big time power. So I mean, he's very exciting. The age that you alluded to, that's key, right? Like for a guy like this to only be 23, and he's been on the radar for a while now. I mean, he debuted last year with the Dodgers, so very impressive for a catcher to just turn 23 and already be pretty clearly big league ready. Um, I would expect him to probably get to compete for a job to start next season, and I got to imagine he would win that. So yeah, I think he's probably their opening day catcher next year.
Want to talk a little bit about some prospects who have already hit but still are prospects. Let's talk about Joe Adell, now up for the Angels. He's up and playing every day. Got a homer and a stolen base. Thoughts on him down the stretch for this year and for the future?
I've really kind of soured on Adele. I was never the biggest Adele guy. Uh, I recognize the risk there with the hit tool. But I mean, the fact that he went to AAA this year and still struck out almost 30% of the time, I mean that was just a really big red flag for me because I mean, he's spent time at AAA in 2019 and he's spent time in the majors and I know he's still only 22, but you shouldn't be striking out that much at AAA. The pitching there just it's not good enough for that to be where it should be. So I worry about the batting average with him. I also think that everyone knows how good of an athlete he is and how fast he is. Like his run times are going to grade out as plus. But he's also never been a guy who attempts stolen bases at a high clip. Like he just doesn't run as much as you would think for a guy who's as fast as he is. So I think he's always going to leave us wanting a little bit more. Maybe he kind of figures out a way to have success is with kind of like a Javi Baez type of approach. Because I mean, I just don't think the K and the walk rates are ever going to be kind of where we'd want them to be. So I think he's just going to have to find a way to maximize that approach and find a way to get to impact power despite that approach. Find a way to chip in on the bases more than he has to make up for the fact that he's not on base that often. But like he's definitely not a guy. Like I usually like going after prospects that I was really high on who maybe didn't live up to expectations in their first trial in the big leagues, but he's not going to be one of those guys for me.
Interesting. Jaron Duran, he's now down to 37% owned on CBS. A lot of people dropped him over the past 2 weeks. Triple slash so far: 221, 236, 372. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Duran for this year and for next year as well?
Yeah, I was telling people to sell high on him earlier this year when he was at AAA, and I don't think anyone listened to me because I was always so low on Duran as a prospect that like if you had Duran, you probably weren't listening to me in the first place. Um, but I'm not a fan. Like I think uh, as you alluded to, like the approach is really pretty scary. And he never made it inside my top 50 as a prospect. And even when he was in the top 100, he was pretty easily the oldest hitter in my top 100. And, that's just not a good sign. I mean, he's going to turn 25 here in about a week. And he's got like he's left people with this really bad taste in their mouths, and like he'll be entering his age 25 season next year. The Red Sox are going to be very platoon happy, I think, in coming years, and they're going to have a lot of people they're trying out for spots in the outfield. So I don't think playing time is assured with him. I don't think even if he is playing, he's probably not going to play against left-handed pitchers. And so I'm not really interested at all in the short term or the long term.
Do you see him being called up toward the end of the season? Because I mean, the Red Sox aren't a pennant race. Do they have the patience to play him, or not really?
I could see him being up and down, maybe. It's just kind of like what role would he be serving for them? Because he's very fast, but he's not this like Gold Glove defensive outfielder. And maybe you could use him a bit as a pinch runner and stuff like that. But I think we will probably see him again. I just don't think it'll be in any kind of a meaningful role.
All right, one more. Alex Krilloff. Now he's out for the season with a wrist injury. But thoughts as possible centerpiece in the Twins lineup?
Yeah, Kirilloff is a guy that I actually, unlike Adele and Duran, I actually am still pretty high on Kirilloff long term. He's a guy that I think will be out of sight, out of mind for a lot of people in redraft leagues next year, just because he had his moments for sure this year in his big league debut where he looked really good, but it's not like he set the world on fire. And He's obviously missed a ton of time now, so uh, I still love the bat. I think he could be a guy with plus power and a plus hit